Fox Local.
Welcome to the Fox 32 newsroom. We are live at Michigan and Lake. Literally, that's where we're located. And we are bringing you behind the scenes in the newsroom so that you can see what we're working on before the newscast at 9 o'clock. We have a number of reporters in here, photojournalists, our producers. So you'll hear from some of them tonight and throughout the course of the week. And we want to first bring in one of our evening reporters, brand new to the team, by the way, Leslie Moreno. Scoot on in, Leslie.
Good to see you.
I know you've just written your story. So tell us, you were in the streets with the dogs today. Tell us what happened.
8 dogs. They were kidnapped. They were in this van that was being transported from the sporting facility. They play with them, they train them, they exercise them, and they were being dropped off at a pet salon in Lincoln Park. The owner of that truck, that business, says he got out of the van, he dropped off some of the items into the business, and in a matter of 15 seconds, he says, he turned around and the van was gone. 8 dogs in there. They didn't have on their collars, so all morning we were all tracking.
And it had to be panic among the dog owners.
I mean, can you imagine? Do you guys have any dogs?
Yes, and they're like my kids.
I was telling our photojournalist, Alex, I was like, if my dog went missing, was kidnapped, that would probably turn the city upside down.
Right.
But they were
He said he left he was bringing bags in and he left the van running so the dogs would be comfortable, right?
Yeah, he leaves the van running. He says he always does this, never had an issue. Because it's cold outside, he wants the dogs to be warm and comfortable, but never had an issue.
But why not lock the doors?
Well, he will now, Scott.
Yeah, lots of changes coming, according to that owner. They want to make sure that this doesn't happen again. But yeah, very, very happy reunion. The families were very emotional running, you can imagine, to this business earlier today, just in tears, some of them. Many of them thought they weren't going to be able to see their pets again.
And the suspect was arrested. What was remarkable to me was what they found in the van.
Yeah, so apparently he took off with the van. He changed the license plates right away. He loaded the van with lawn care equipment.
Okay.
And then he stopped at McDonald's for a quick snack, I guess, and he left the trash in the van, according to the owner of that business.
Wow. So was it really tough to, I know they were being reunited with their animals, but was it tough to pull them aside and get them to talk? I know they were excited to see their pets.
I mean, a lot of stations were there, and I wasn't physically there, but I know they were very emotional, and we were all just there in the moment with them too, all very happy to see them reunited and know that they're all safe. But they were just very happy.
More relief than anger?
More relief, I don't think we didn't feel any sort of anger or anything to that extent from the families. I will say, and in the story tonight, the owner of that business was very apologetic. But the families, as far as we know, they're going to continue using him for services, and they had nothing but great things to say about him.
So, lastly, what kind of dog do you have?
I have 2. I have a Shih Tzu. He is 16.
Oh, wow.
He's blind, deaf.
Oh, boy.
Very old. And then I have an 8-year-old dachshund mix Mafia.
Nice.
Very nice.
One of the dogs that was stolen, or temporarily stolen, was a dachshund. I saw that. Well, thanks, Leslie.
Thank you.
Nice talking to you.
Good to see you.
We'll see you at 9. All right, so next we want to talk to you, our resident alien. Our resident co-anchor here who
the tinfoil hat man.
who likes to talk about UFOs, because you've done a lot on UFOs, but specifically, at least today, you talked to somebody who knows a lot about this?
Yeah, I have a special running tonight at 9, and I encourage people to watch it. And this is on the heels, Dawn, of President Trump. Really, this was a headline before the war in Iran. He has asked the agencies of the federal government to release any and all information to the public on UFOs. I want to backtrack just a little bit because, kind of to your point, this is a truth I've been pursuing the entirety of my career, and there is a backstory to that. I was about 12 years old when I learned from my grandmother, who lived in Sonora, California. This is a mountainous region along the California-Nevada border, that both she and my great-grandmother had witnessed an event. Okay, and they described it independently of one another in great detail. And I'm just going to tell you a little bit about it. So this was a large rectangular object. It was black. It had no engines. It made no sounds. It hovered directly above them. It scared them, to no end. They'd never seen anything like this. It hovered over them for a few minutes, and then it took off, at a rate of speed that they had never seen before, whether it be on television or movies. This was quite a long time ago. So they told me about this. I had never forgotten this story. Then I see this documentary film, The Age of Disclosure. And chronicled in that movie is details of an alien encounter at Vandenberg Air Force Base in California. Several seasoned military veterans were on this base. Here comes a black rectangular
The
vehicle.
same kind of thing?
Yes, hovering over their heads, no engines, no exhaust, no sound. It hovered over them. It takes off lickety-split. I got chills when I watched this. I wanted to speak to the director, Dan Farah. He worked on, in secret, for 2 years on this project, in part because he feared sabotage from the government agency that is alleged to have kept a secret from the American people for 80 years. And that agency is known as the Legacy Program. And its mission, if you watch the film, it's on Prime, by the way, and I strongly encourage people who are curious, whether you believe it or not, if you're curious, it is absolutely fascinating.
When did it come out?
It came out this past fall. I interviewed Dan in the fall. Tonight's interview, this is my second interview with Dan, because I wanted to talk to him about Trump's edict, and I also wanted to talk to him about something former President Barack Obama said. I'll get to that in a minute.
Okay.
But I want to talk about the Legacy Program for a moment, because what Dan did was he talked to 34 high-ranking U.S. government officials. And what we learned is, and some whistleblowers, what we learned is that the mission of the Legacy Program was twofold. One, to keep secret from the American public the existence of extraterrestrials. We've seen the Tic Tac videos, especially in the recent years. The phenomenon where these UAPs, they do things that our planes can't do. They take off, they go underwater, in the blink of an eye they disappear. These are seasoned naval aviators. They don't know what these craft are capable of because we can't do it. We can't duplicate it. What this group is also charged with doing is putting out disinformation, making people like me who have longed for the truth think that we must be crazy. This can't be true. No way the government can keep a secret for 80 long years. The second part of their mission is to take this alien technology and reverse engineer it. Because right now, and actually for decades, we have been engaged in a Cold War with China and Russia to master this technology. You're looking at Marco Rubio just a second ago in that video, the Secretary of State. He sat down with Dan Farah. There's nobody more frustrated than Marco Rubio, and he's one of the most powerful people in Washington.
Well, how do they get this Legacy Program really to talk? Because it sounds like they've been trying to keep it secret, even from presidents.
Whistleblowers. And so to your point about presidents, so Barack Obama recently, he's one of the most respected presidents we've ever had. He served 2 terms. He goes on a podcast and says, look, I believe that alien life exists. This is a really big universe. However, when I was president, nobody ever showed me any proof, and I was in the White House for 8 years. Right. So, ostensibly, that kind of sets back what Dan Farah is trying to prove. And I wanted to ask Dan, how did that sit with you? Dan is resolute in his belief. That doesn't mean anything, and there's a reason for it. Programs like the Legacy Program, they have been in existence for years. The people behind those programs, they are career civil servants. Their jobs continue, whether Clinton's in office or Trump or Bush or Obama. So there is no need for them to tell a sitting president what's going on. And what Marco Rubio also says in the documentary is that's just one of many programs. When a president walks into the White House, the president doesn't say, hey, why don't you fly me over to Roswell? Right. I'd like to see the truth about aliens. It doesn't work that way.
Because they come and go. They don't want to give them the information.
They come and go.
But who's privy to the information is what I would want to know. How do they determine who gets to know about it?
Yeah, nobody. And we've seen these committees now in Washington, and a lot of angry lawmakers really wanting to know the truth. And that's where these whistleblowers, we wouldn't be where we are without the whistleblowers. Jay Stratton's one of the whistleblowers. We just saw him there. You're going to hear from in my piece tonight. Not only did he have death threats, his career was destroyed. He personally witnessed, and again, he alleges this, he personally witnessed not only alien vehicles, he witnessed alien life forms. And if you've ever seen the movie, Spielberg's movie, Close Encounters of the Third Kind, there's a scene at the very end where the aliens meet the humans. And they come in all shapes and sizes. They're very tall and lanky. They're very small. He says he's witnessed both.
Really?
And can you imagine, Dawn, can you imagine what that might do to a God-fearing planet? We, you know, we're a religious people, whether you're Catholic or whether you're Muslim, or, you know, what would that do to people that believe, you know, in a single deity, to know that there are actually other non-human life forms out there?
And
There's
where
a
do
lot
they
at stake.
live? Where have they said they lived?
Well, on Earth?
No. Are they saying they're on Earth?
Well,
or are
the theory is because 70% of our oceans are actually unexplored. The prevailing wisdom is that most of them are so deep underwater, we have no technology.
Okay.
And just, you know, to that point, some of the video that we have watched, and again, these naval aviators, through their equipment and through their trained eyes, they've watched these aircraft travel at tremendous speeds and then go underwater at the same speed. We don't have that technology.
What?
Yeah.
So what do you believe after seeing all this?
Again, so for me personally, you know, I've been a journalist for a very long time, and as I told Dan Farah, before I leave this earth, I want to know the truth. Whether I'm still a journalist or not, this is my ultimate bucket list. It's number one. I want to know that we are not alone. And Dan Farah, and I talked to him about this, he's very grateful to President Trump because he has people in Washington and they have Trump's ear. And he believes once we get past Iran, and maybe not, this spring, maybe not this summer, but he believes in his heart that President Trump will stand at a podium and he will tell this country, we are not alone in the universe.
Interesting. All right, well, we'll see in your specials tonight. This is all good information.
Yeah.
There's so many other questions that I know people have, but we'll have to watch the special first, and then we'll ask you more.
All right.
All right, we want to bring in Joni Lum, who, has to... Hi, that was quick and fast.
Sorry, I ate up a lot of time there, Joni.
No, it was
I got
interesting.
questions, Scott.
What do you think about aliens?
Well,
Not this alien, I mean, the ones he's talking about.
he described the when 2 or 3 are present thing.
Yeah.
And the monolith in different independent forms.
Right.
So how can you argue with that?
Yes.
That's amazing
Interesting.
stuff.
Okay, well, people are arguing over data centers, we should say, because there are so many. So you did a story today, and tell us where it was. It was Aurora, right?
We were in Aurora today because they have a lot of data centers. And so these data centers, they pop up, they do business. All we know is that they suck up a lot of energy. AI takes a lot of energy to create. And so they want to have some rules and regulations over this industry because already utility costs have gone up, and ComEd has admitted it's because they have to build infrastructure for all these data centers. So there are 4 of them in Aurora, and they don't feel like, the government doesn't feel like they're being completely transparent about what they do there. They told their neighbors when they moved in they were going to be a quiet neighbor. They don't have a lot of employees, so they don't create a lot of traffic. But apparently, according to the residents who live in Aurora, they create some noise and vibrations.
A lot of
Is
noise,
it like
right?
a loud humming, or what do they describe?
That's what it's. One person described it as like a helicopter hovering. That's a loud sound.
Yeah.
Loud.
But I don't know what they're hearing and how close they are. That's another thing. They need to regulate zoning. How close can one of those giant warehouses be to homes where there are children playing? And what's coming out of there, the people don't know. They do know that they have opinions about AI, and most of them are negative. So if something
Scary,
is...
right?
Yeah, for them it is, and maybe it's misinformation, but if they feel like their neighbor is producing AI, then their neighbor is taking jobs from other people. So for them, it's a negative thing.
And you said that they are thinking about building more data centers in Aurora. They have a lot of open space, it sounds like that.
Aurora's
Aurora is
got some
big.
space.
Yes.
It's so big. It's the state's
Second largest city. Yeah.
But they got all that geography as well. 5 other companies are either under construction or in the process, the bidding process. There are going to be 5 more, so 9 total in Aurora. They are running out.
And where are they getting all that juice?
That's the thing. So they need a lot of juice for that. Our costs are going up. The state has a bill pending that's called the Power Act, where the state would then regulate these companies and ask them to pay their fair share.
And right now there's nothing regulated.
Apparently there's nothing regulating. That's why Aurora wants to have these rules, regulations, zoning, all those things. They're trying to determine, they put a moratorium on data centers so that they could make these ordinances to at least keep an eye on this industry, because it is moving fast.
Yeah, I live in Naperville, and I was so relieved that they voted down a new data center in Naperville. But again, Aurora's right next door.
Right. I don't know if it's a bad neighbor. It generates property taxes. We need that space for our digital needs. But it has to be a good neighbor.
Yeah, it's got to be a good
And that's
neighbor.
what they want.
All right, Joni, thanks. Thanks. So we want to introduce you to someone who is rarely seen, but will
Ryan,
be
come on in.
tonight.
You want me now?
This is Ryan.
on over.
He's our 9 p.m. producer.
While he's rolling up, I
Slide
just
on
want to
in.
say real
Slide
quick,
in.
you and I have history because we worked on Good Day Chicago years and years ago.
Of course, yeah. Actually, Scott, you're the first person that I worked with actually in this building.
Oh.
How about that?
When we
Who knew?
we were working the 4 a.m. shift.
4
We had a
a.m.
4
together.
a.m. show, 4 to 5 a.m. Oh, good times.
Yeah, I remember when Brittany Griner, I'll never forget, when she was released, remember, from Russia, and it was dark, and you were my producer, and we were both frustrated because you couldn't see the tarmac, you couldn't see Brittany, you couldn't see anybody, and
You saw shadowy figures.
you saw shadowy
No.
figures. And we were trying to tell a story together, and we were both equally frustrated because we were so happy that she was out.
Exactly.
But we're like, it was pitch black. There were no lights on the tarmac.
But you do what you can.
You do what you can.
You do what you can with the resources that you have.
Yeah.
And that's basically the thing going around news right now is that you won't get the fancy all that jazz, but you do the best that you can with everything that you have. And we have a great staff here. And thank you guys both for letting me on. I really appreciate it as well.
Well, we thought it was important to talk to you because, not everybody knows what it takes to put the newscast together.
Yeah.
Great point.
And we have, meetings in the afternoon where we determine the stories that we're going to cover for the day. And I know that you decide what order things go in.
Yes.
But let's talk just about your background because you have done radio.
Radio,
before,
yes.
So talk about that.
Got to give a special shout out to Lyons Township High School out in LaGrange. I got started there at WLTL. I was the sports director there. Sports is my go-to. I love sports. And then I kind of just went to Dayton, Ohio. That was the first job. This was a funny story. I was actually the guy that was waking up at 2 a.m., 1 a.m. So work in the morning is nothing new to me, Scott.
Right.
But I was waking up and I was taking those driving shots you see on the camera, taking photos of, your morning commute, your evening commute. And
awesome.
that was how I got into it. So, and the one thing I always really liked about my job is that, I got to try everything.
Yeah.
I got to be on camera, I got to be off camera, I got to produce, I got to be web and digital. So I got kind of a little bit of everything, and I think that's what brought me here is that,
And isn't it nice, I'm from Chicago too, but isn't it nice to be able to come home to cover news for you?
Oh, it's a world of relief, and I can only thank the, management team, Matt Piacente, he brought me back, Lisa, they brought me back home, and that's why I'm passionate about this, is because this is my home.
Where do you get your positivity? Because look, she's been here longer than I have. I've been here a decade. And I honestly can't think of a producer. We have great producers here, wonderful producers.
Oh,
but
yeah.
on a day in and day out basis, your level of positivity is an 11. Where do you get that from?
Well, the reason being is because, I'm comfortable in a lot of situations. Throughout my career, like I was in Dayton, I saw a lot of things happen. That's where I got to cover, a lot of different situations in a small market, like small, medium market town. We were in like 64. And then I took that to Charlotte. And then I was able to expand on those skills.
Yes.
So those situations where people might be running around frantically, it kind of puts me at ease because I've been in those situations before. Scott, you remember our first full newscast together? It was the Blue Origin flight where we went on for a full hour, non-stop.
Good memory. Good
Yeah.
memory.
What's your best story or your favorite story that you can think of? And if not, what's your favorite story tonight in our newscast?
Okay, so my favorite story tonight is kind of touching. I like to do these things called calling cameras because people love to see the stories in action.
Yes.
And so there's this great caught on camera of, I'm going to give a quick preview because you got to tune in to Fox Chicago at 9 p.m.
Nice plug, Ryan.
See, I've done this once or twice
Love this.
before.
Yeah, go ahead.
And it's about an officer who's off duty, but you know, when you're an officer, you're never really off duty.
Correct.
Yeah, you gotta
So
be
he
careful.
sprinted right into action after seeing this event, and I'll kind of save the other part where it's like he has his own battles he's going through.
Yes.
So he had to push through that in
I
order
saw
to
that.
save someone. So it's going to be a great story. It's going to happen at around after 9:30, after your special, Scott.
All right, looking forward to that, and always love working with you.
You're the best, Ryan.
Oh
the
no,
good
I
work.
work with the best team around here. You know, we got Nick on the desk, we got Stacy over here. It's a
They're
team
hiding.
effort.
Hi,
Stacey's
Stace. We
thumb.
see Stacy's thumb.
It is a team
Best director in
Stacey,
town.
too.
It is a team effort, but thank you guys. The show has been fantastic. You know, I saw it in action yesterday, and we're getting it rolling.
Yeah,
Thank you,
and
Ryan.
we love that you talked to us. Now get back to work.
Slide away.
Emily is back after this short break.
We'll see you in a minute.
On the way.
Welcome back. I am Emily, stepping in now for Don and Scott. They are getting ready for the news at 9. Of course, we are here with Chris. And if you don't know Chris, if you haven't seen him around yet, Chris, you are a sports producer.
Yeah, a digital
Yeah.
sports producer handling everything on the web. So if you see it on the website, odds are I have a hand in it.
And we have a bunch of stuff on our website. You're always in charge of the sports stuff, too. It looks great. Speaking of sports, anyone who knows anything about me knows that sports is not my forte. So from my understanding, we have some pretty big sports news going on out there with the Bears tonight. Tell us what's going on.
Yeah, it's kind of shocking news, to be honest with you. The Bears center, Drew Dahlman, is retired. He's informed the team that he's going to retire today. ESPN broke the story. And it's pretty impressive because he's 27 years old. Usually, NFL players will carry their careers into their 30s. The Bears had signed into a 3-year deal. He's the second highest paid center in the National Football League. And he's going to call it a career after just one season with the Bears. And it wasn't just one season, it was a really good season.
Yeah, it was a really good season. Is he hurt? Does that have anything to do with it? Do we know anything more about it, or did he just announce his decision?
He hasn't officially announced it yet. ESPN was reporting that he was informing the team. And in this specific instance, if you retire with years on your contract, you can still come back. The Bears retain his rights. We don't know what the long-term future holds, but we've seen this a little bit too. I think Chris Borland was a linebacker at Wisconsin who retired at 25. You know, this is part of the game that we are seeing more athletes get more cognizant of. It's football. This takes a toll on your body, and I think Drew, Stanford alum, is a very smart guy. One of my favorite guys in the locker room to talk to this year. Was very cognizant of that fact too. But it's a massive loss for the Bears, not just in the schematically part of it, where he was the lead blocker and was in charge of a lot of the different pass protections. But in this specific instance, they lose a huge locker room voice. He had a really strong connection with Caleb Williams, and so much so that he gave him the nickname the Hulk, because the Hulk, big strong guy, but
Right.
also smart as Bruce Banner.
Yeah. So is there any talk of any sort of are there any theories of replacements? Like, what does this mean for, going into the off season, and, how are the Bears going to prepare for next season with such a huge hole in the roster?
It's a really good question. They have 6 days, technically 5 if you consider this work day to be done, 5 days until the negotiating period for free agency, which
Okay.
means there are a couple guys out there that are veterans they could probably contact, or they could wait until the draft, and they could wait and pluck a very young guy. But there's pros and cons to that, which that player might struggle in the NFL, might not be a professional caliber athlete, but also they have to learn how to have camaraderie and collaboration with Caleb Williams on the fly, because this is a team that's built to win, and it's built to win now.
So I admittedly don't know a ton about sports, and I was reading something about a salary cap and how this could potentially play into maybe who they're able to choose. Is that something that are you comfortable speaking on that? What does that mean?
Yeah, so the salary cap is a very specific limit on how much the team can spend. I think this year the salary cap in the NFL is at $301 million.
Okay.
There's a very specific amount of money the Bears can spend, and the Bears needed to get under the cap. They're currently, before Drew retired, they're about $9 million over it. They
Okay.
had to get under it before the new league year, which is next Monday. So with his retirement, that will save around $10 million against the cap. So
Okay.
they're back under the cap. It's good, but we'll see what happens. But they have decisions to make, and this gets them a little bit more flexible to do those decisions.
Well, geez, big day in the sports world. In my world, the big thing is, just looking forward to 60s. Things look great over the next couple of days. Yeah, we have some rain to get through. But this time of the year, everyone kind of starts thinking about, the spring season, and my mind goes to baseball. I don't know a lot about football, but I was a softball player, so I get excited about baseball, and we have the home opener for both the Cubs, the White Sox later on this month. Are you allowed to pick a favorite? Are you allowed?
Ooh, not allowed. Not
Okay.
allowed. I have a favorite. I can't say.
I can, because I'm not a sports writer. I have to say the White Sox, because when I first got this job, it was before I ever even started on air. I was invited as kind of like a team building type thing to go out with some of the management, some of the talent here, some of the producers, behind the scenes people, and I was taken to a White Sox game. So it was like my first impression of sports in the city. So I kind of have to lean, and I'm allowed to say that because I'm not a sports writer.
I mean, you can't beat the atmosphere at Wrigley Field,
Yeah.
but at White Sox Park, it's really nice. There's really good food. I think the food is a little bit better there.
Yeah.
That's just my opinion.
Okay.
But you also cannot beat a good hot dog and a good ballpark.
Is that the best meal for baseball for you?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And beer.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it depends.
I'm allowed to say that, too.
You're allowed to say that when I'm working, maybe, but yeah.
Yeah, as long as you're not at work, right? Well, anyway, we're looking forward to that. Thank you for chiming in here tonight. Again, this is Chris, sports producer with us here, and we are getting ready for the 9 p.m. news. I'm going to jump out to the studio now and go join Dawn and Scott. We'll see you in a few minutes over on Fox Chicago.